The moment the maitre d' glanced at her worn shoes and hesitated, Rachel felt the room tilt, as if the polished restaurant in downtown Chicago had quietly decided she did not belong. The tablecloths were white and heavy, the glasses thin as promises, and the air carried the kind of confidence money seems to breathe. Her stomach tightened before anyone said anything, because she had felt this before, that subtle pause where dignity is measured against a credit card. What if this were you, standing there after saving for weeks just to feel normal for one evening, watching strangers decide your worth in a blink? Would you shrink, apologize for existing, or would you stand still and let the judgment pass through you like cold rain? Rachel stood still, hands folded, heart pounding, unaware that this night would change more than her own sense of shame. Rachel had not always lived like this. Once, she had a small apartment in Ohio, a steady job, and a future that felt predictable. Then came layoffs, hospital bills for her mother, and a chain of bad timing that swallowed her savings whole. Moving to Illinois for cheaper rent and more opportunities sounded hopeful at first. But hope does not pay deposits or fill refrigerators. By the time she found work again, it was part-time and temporary, the kind that keeps you tired but never secure. That dinner night was meant to be a fragile celebration, a reminder that she was still human, still worthy of a seat at a table with clean linen. She had chosen the restaurant because it was close to her bus stop, and because for one night she wanted to forget how often she counted coins. The rejection came quietly, delivered through polite smiles and careful words that made her feel smaller than if someone had shouted. There were murmurs about reservations, about dress codes, about availability that somehow evaporated for others who walked in after her. Heat rose in her face as she nodded, pretending understanding while the weight of humiliation pressed down. Around her, laughter floated, glasses clinked, and no one noticed a woman being gently pushed out of a dream. If you were in that moment, would you fight or would you retreat to save what little pride you had left? Rachel chose retreat, turning toward the door with a tight chest and the familiar ache of knowing she would eat noodles again that night. She did not notice Michael at first. He was a single dad from Indiana, in town for a weekend conference he could barely afford, stretching his budget the way parents do when they want their kids to see something better. His son, Noah, was at home with his sister, and Michael carried that quiet exhaustion of men who have learned to do everything themselves after loss. He had lost his wife to illness 3 years earlier, and since then, every decision felt heavier, every kindness more deliberate. Watching Rachel leave, shoulders hunched, something stirred in him that went beyond sympathy. It was recognition. He remembered nights when the bank balance decided dinner, when pride had to be swallowed for the sake of survival. Michael had been raised in a small church, where faith was less about words and more about actions, where kindness was taught as something urgent, not optional. He saw the way the staff's attention shifted when Rachel turned away, how relief replaced discomfort, and it unsettled him. Life had taught him that silence in moments like this becomes agreement. Without making a scene, without demanding attention, he did something simple and brave. He changed the direction of the night. The staff noticed him because people always notice confidence backed by calm authority. His presence redirected their focus, and suddenly the rules that had seemed rigid softened, bent, and opened. Rachel felt the shift before she understood it. The tension around her eased, and the same smiles that had felt dismissive now appeared accommodating, confusion mixed with suspicion as she was guided back. Inside, offered a seat she had been told did not exist minutes earlier. The injustice of it hurt almost as much as the relief. It should not take someone else's approval to grant basic respect. As she sat there, hands trembling slightly, she wondered how many times people like her disappeared unnoticed, how many nights ended in quiet tears on bus rides home. Throughout the meal, Rachel battled gratitude and shame, savoring food that tasted richer because it carried the flavor of being seen. Michael sat nearby, never intruding, never demanding thanks, simply existing as proof that compassion can be quiet and still powerful. For him, the night was not about saving someone, but about refusing to let another human feel erased. He thought of Noah, of the lessons children learn not from lectures but from watching what adults do when it matters. He hoped that, somehow, the goodness of this choice would ripple outward, touching lives he would never meet. When the evening ended, Rachel stepped back into the cool city air feeling lighter and heavier all at once. She carried renewed hope and a deeper awareness of how fragile dignity can be. That night did not solve her problems or fill her bank account, but it stitched something mended inside her, a reminder that she was not invisible. Michael returned to his hotel room thinking about his son, about how one day he would explain that kindness is not about wealth, but about willingness. Two strangers walked away changed, bound by a moment that would echo in their hearts long after the plates were cleared. Before the final moment fades, share your thoughts in the comments and tell us what this story stirred inside you. If this story truly touched your heart, please like, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of simple human kindness.